And we're on. Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to be presenting some slides. Is it coming across okay?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so today I wanted to talk about surfacing cache and proxy information up through Rome. I'm going to be channeling Mark Nottingham a little bit here. This was an issue that he raised a couple years ago, or a proposal that he raised. He's not on the call today, but we were wondering if there's enough that has changed since the original proposal that we could try to make still some progress on it at this point. So this is in resource timing number 362. I will just share this tab really quick just so we can see it. Mark Nottingham opened it in 2022. We stalled out a little bit because part of the proposal was dependent on structured fields and HTTP headers and getting that information into JavaScript land. So that was the original issue. We did talk about it at TPAC later that year, and you're welcome to look at the long discussion that we had around it. There is a good explainer that Mark put together around like why this information is necessary or interesting, some kind of proposals for how it could look from the HTTP side and how it could look from the JavaScript land side. So it does build on top of two other RFCs for cache status and proxy status, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well, and kind of where we are now, like what happened since then. So cache information, proxy information, of course, this is stuff that's often part of headers for CDNs today. So this is a sampling of some of the larger CDNs. I just kind of went to a few different sites and actually took some data that was collected by the Speed Curve blog with some examples of what CDNs are often sharing in kind of cache status or proxy status state to the world via HTTP headers. A lot of it today is via server timing, which we all know and love. So as an example, Akamai, for my product, we do emit a CDN cache header of hit or miss. We also emit a edge and origin duration timer if you have these enabled via your property configuration. Similar things for CloudFront. A lot more details, in fact, around the some information around the POPs and stuff like that. Cloudflare has like a hit or miss status, maybe duration. Fastly as well has some sort of duration value, the POPs, the cache status, etc. And even our lovely Shopify, who may sit on one on top of the other of these or sit below one of these, also emits some information in server timing headers. I will note that, like in sampling this, the proposal today builds on top of cache status and proxy status RFCs, which I think are just proposals at this moment. And I couldn't actually find any of those headers in the wild. I'm not sure if anybody here knows if anybody is emitting cache dash status or proxy dash status, but I couldn't find any examples. So I haven't looked in the HTTP archive, but at least just on some of the big sites just to see. So anyway, the point being is that it seems to me like the CDNs are willing to expose some of this information to server timing explicitly. Maybe not for all their customers. Maybe some customers have to opt in. Maybe they have to, enable a worker or VCL to do this or opt into a feature. But if both the CDN support it and the customer agrees, it seems like this information can be captured. It's not all consistent, as you can see. Different headers mean different or have different contents of them. There's often at least a hit or miss. That's the one consistent thing. Does it mean the same thing for everybody? Who knows? But at least a lot of them hits. I don't know if I'm sure there's a hit or miss thing here in the CloudFront one. So just take all that with a grain of salt. It was a quick sampling via some examples from the SpeedCrypt blog and from me looking as well. So part of the proposal from Mark was that, well, why don't we have cache status and proxy status actually have like very explicit conventions in there, and then potentially surface that through, since they are structured fields, which is of course another RFC. There is support for surfacing this information of structured fields through fetch. It has limited support. I wasn't able to actually figure out how to demo this on my own, but my assumption is that fetch can get access to some of these headers potentially. And so the proposal is something like this, where you have an explicit cache status header rather than server timing. Multiple different layers can add their own information. In this case, Mark has a proposal that there's some sort of keyword in one of these, like the rum keyword, whereby anything that or before would be exposed through JavaScript. And so that would help protect against some, other caches that are closer to the user that might be privacy invasive. And then it would map to something in JavaScript land. Who knows if it would look like this or something similar, but you get the point. It was a hit, for example. So that's a very rough proposal. So why are we talking about it now? So a couple questions from here. And this is just general to the group. Maybe we can talk about this after we stop recording. Do we, and by we I mean developers, rum vendors, consumers of this data want this information? And I have opinions there, of course, being a rum vendor and a CDN. Another proposal or another question is, can we, in a different sense of CDNs, and I think there's at least one or two CDNs represented here today, agree to some sort of convention, maybe forced through the cache status header? Is that interesting to people? We're all emitting similar information today, but with slightly different syntax. And then the third question would be, assuming the above are true, or at least one of them is true, how would we, in the WebPerf working group sense, want to map this data to resource timing? Does it come in through fetch? Does it come in through resource timing? I think the example from Mark, for example, if you're getting your resource timing and then there's just a proxy status or a cache status attribute on the resource list, right? So that's my brief summary of where we are right now. The reason why we're bringing this up again is that structured fields have made a little bit of progress. It may not be emitting through JavaScript exactly what we want today, but we haven't talked about this in 2.5 years, and didn't know if there was community interest. And that's the end of my blabbing.